Hello, we're microdosing all the Bitcoin. Right. Well, this is Inauguration Day, and in honor of Inauguration Day, I am wearing the orange wig for the orange man who has left the premises and is long enough to sniff. Ah, that feels good.
You like to smell your own hair.
Yep, everybody likes the smell of their own hair and their own farts because I'm going to talk about Fart Club coming up. But first, I
Oh,
want to.
great. Is Fartface 2000 coming on?
No. He is not coming onto this episode today of Microdose of Bitcoin's only podcast with such a cool couple. And that is the Microdosing Orange Pill podcast. So I want to talk about, the episode title is called Microdosing All the Bitcoin. And we're talking about Grayscale because Grayscale on Monday, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, they microdose, they macrodose, they went full dose, right, of all the Bitcoin. 18-day supply, they hoovered up in just 1 day max. What do you think of that?
Well, I think they own now 3% of all the Bitcoin that'll ever be, right? And Barry tweeted out a Pac-Man. That's Barry Silbert over at Digital Currency Group, Grayscale. So, their intentions are clear. They're going to keep buying and buying and buying. And you've got a couple of other institutions that are keep buying and buying and buying. You've got countries now entering the fray. You've got large funds, hedge funds. Everyone, it's just buy. You've got countries buy. So it's a big move. And Barry is one of the smartest guys in Bitcoin. Remember when he got into the game, going back to 2011 or so, he laid out the whole path of what Bitcoin was going to go through, the adoption cycle, when Wall Street was going to get involved, when the institutions were going to get involved, so he's been following a game plan now for 5 or 6 years. It's all, he envisioned it. He is profiting it mightily from it. So this is going to continue.
Right, because I like the just calm, cool, steady accumulation that is going on of all of the Bitcoin is being hoovered up, all the new supply, and yet people still jump into various, our Telegram group room, all sorts of forum boards, Twitter, and they're like, oh my God, should I buy? Should I sell? Should I sell? Is it going to go down? How much is it going to go down? And it's just that steady Pac-Man of accumulation. Grayscale buys 16,244 Bitcoin worth $590 million over the past 24 hours, which equates to 18x of the daily Bitcoin mined. Their total Bitcoin assets under management now sits at $22.9 billion worth.
Right. And, we also have some other funds in the game. So BlackRock and others that are managing trillions, $7-8 trillion. Fidelity, $1 trillion money management. They're also nipping at the heels. And, there's a lot of things going on. I see some publicly traded companies, aside from MicroStrategy, is, made a huge move based on its Bitcoin purchases. And then Morgan Stanley bought a big piece of MicroStrategy as a way to buy Bitcoin because they're not authorized to buy it directly. So they bought MicroStrategy instead. You've got publicly traded companies like Riot Blockchain. It was at 50 cents. Now it's around $20. And there's a whole suite of companies that are in this industry that are all moving up. So the dynamics are positive. The fundamentals are positive. The technicals are positive. The dollar is, the big enchilada. We have to wait on dollar collapse. That's what we're waiting on. And all the rhetoric we hear from the central bank suggests to me that this is a fait accompli, to use a French expression.
Yeah, that's very French. And you know what? Speaking of French, smash is a French word.
Does it?
I just made that up. But, I could use poetic license because I have orange hair and everybody's saying that I look like the Fifth Element, which was made by a French director in France. So I get to make up whatever I want.
Luc Besson.
Yeah. So today I say that smash is a French word.
Le
So
smasher.
le smasher, go smash that like button.
Is this smash? Is this smasher?
In fact, by the end of this episode, I'm going to go smash buy on swanbitcoin.com as well, because they are a sponsor of our show. And they are coming out with our newsletter, orangepilldailydose.com. You could go register there, by the way. But I want to see before, we're not going to talk until the number of likes gets to 100. We're not going to talk
I'm going to
about,
conjugate smash.
you're going to conjugate smash, but you can't do that. Le smashe, hit that like button. Listen to Tyler Durden saying le smashe. Well, somebody's talking about my orange pill box hat. This is my orange pill look.
Is it collar and cuffs?
I don't know what that means, but I'm sure it does somewhere. Je suis smash.
Je smash, tu smash, nous smashons, vous smashez, il smash. That's how you conjugate smasher, the French verb to smash buy on Swan Bitcoin.
Right. And we've made it to 100 smash likes there. Somebody speaking in Spanish. Estupendo en cabello de Stacy. Cheers from Hamburg. Hold evaporating fiat, opt out. Thank you, Max and Stacy.
I got a new book, Spanish for Gringos.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I'm learning my Spanish now.
Let me see that. See what do they say for gringos? Like why is it there? Más cosas en la casa. The more things in the house. La alfombra. The rug. We have an orange rug. You could probably see it right there in the corner over there. We got an orange rug. Have you ever... What? I've never heard of this. Is this true? Tell me in this... Paco is in the group.
Paco.
They're saying for drawers, it's los cajones.
Los cajones? For drawers? Cajones.
Cajones.
I thought that meant huevos, like testicles.
Yeah, that's cojones.
Yeah.
And this is cajones.
Oh, cajones. Oh,
so
that's a prophylactic, I think.
It's a little bit close. Anyway, Spanish for gringos. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I need this handy.
Right. So Yellen is taking office at the Treasury with this new Biden administration. I saw markets were pretty up, and Bitcoin was down 5%. The NASDAQ was soared. Everybody's expecting a lot of stimulus.
Yeah, definitely a lot of stimulus. And Bitcoin, it's buy on the news, buy on the rumor, sell on the news. So we knew that Biden was net positive for Bitcoin, and he had that huge rally from 30,000 to 42,000. And now that today's inauguration day, so there's a pullback on the news. We bought the rumor, sold the news. So now we're building up to the next cycle. So now they're going to start talking about a lot of money printing, Janet Yellen and Jerome Powell. And so we'll start to ratchet up now again on the new rumors, which are building up. And so we'll be hitting those new all-time highs soon enough.
Sure, but it's also, aside from selling the rumor, buy the rumor, sell the news. It's also, of course, because Janet Yellen, the day before the inauguration yesterday, she was saying that Bitcoin is used for money laundering and terrorists, and we're going to go after them. And they want to introduce a new domestic terrorism law, so they want to expand Patriot Act. This is going to be Patriot Act 2.0, as Nick Carter was talking about in the recent Full Dose of Orange Pill podcast. And what we're going to see is them trying to crack down on Bitcoin, or that's what the markets were assuming, what Janet Yellen was saying as she's about to take office at the Treasury. So obviously, however, that's not going to work. As you see, Grayscale is one of the number one holdings for millennials and Generation Z. They're all buying it in their Robinhood app or their other free online trading apps. And it gets to a point where it's just too big, right, to stop. And I don't see that actually happening. She needs to scare the markets. This is what they do to gold, but they could actually manipulate the price of gold. So when they're about to announce $1.9 trillion, they've only announced it. That's the rumor. But once they pass $1.9 trillion, what they have to do is make sure that investors have no safe haven. There's no option for them but to agree to the terms of these 50-year bonds that she's talking about as well. Yellen was talking about. So, I think they all see it as a war between the US dollar and the new Bitcoin, the new gold 2.0. Obviously, the US Treasury has a whole bunch of gold. So Yellen's in charge of that, and she could do whatever she wants with gold at the moment because she does have enough physical to make it look like she could deliver. But they don't have any Bitcoin. So, well, except for the couple tens of thousands that they seized from the guy who stole from Silk Road.
Right. Well, when you introduce new laws, and you have to enforce those laws, and you have to hire lots of law enforcement people and a lot of infrastructure, a lot of administration. So you have to print more money. Trump printed $8 trillion when he was president. It projected that Biden in his first 4 years will print 4 times that. So you're talking $32 trillion, which makes the use case and the value proposition of Bitcoin go vertically straight up toward the stratosphere. And people in that administration, in Janet Yellen's office, in Janet Yellen's family, they're going to start to buy Bitcoin because they know that they don't want to go down with that sinking ship. That there's the money printing is about to go exponential to the power of exponential. And, this is happening all over the world. And no one's going to follow somebody who's directing them to jump off a cliff, right? I mean, eventually your survival instincts kick in and you're like, wait a minute. I'm not going to keep this fiat thing going on. Forget that. So, it's stupid. And they're going to have to learn the hard way.
Microdosing all the Bitcoin.
Learning the hard way. The Hard 8. Did you ever see that movie? Hard 8.
No. What was that about?
It's pretty cool. It's about like gamblers in Vegas and Reno. And the director is a cool indie director. I think Mark Wahlberg is in it. And this old guy, the guy in Boogie Nights, who was like the old guy who's on the sidelines, who's a big porn fan. He's in this movie Hard 8. He's like the star of it. And it's about like a certain underworld of gamblers and stuff. I haven't seen it in a while, but it's a well drawn out kind of drama, low burning, soft burn drama. It's good, excellent act. Anderson, I think, might be the director.
Paul Thomas Anderson.
I think that
might
be the director. I think he did Boogie Nights too, right?
I don't know. I
think so. Yeah, you can check me.
Everybody likes my hair. Everybody likes my hair.
It's gorgeous.
Everybody likes it. So Yellen wants the 50-year bonds.
Oh yeah, 50-year bond. Yeah.
So they're gonna, which is interesting because of course it's now 50 years of Joe Biden in office. So he took office in the House in 1971. So he's been in power for a very long time. This is the 50th anniversary also of he took office in 1972. He was elected in 1971. So he is just about 50 years into it, 50 years of the US dollar later this year. So there's a lot of 50 years. I think that's kind of, definitely, if you look at where Joe Biden started and where he is now 50 years later, at least like he doesn't remember 50 years ago, right?
Right.
So like when we get to 50 years from now, all these people who wrote this debt will be like, we don't remember this. And if you can't remember it, like, do you owe it? Like that's the same sort of thing as like if a tree falls in the woods and nobody's there to hear it, did it make a sound at all? Right.
Well, Argentina kind of proved you can be a serial defaulter on your sovereign debt. And they introduced 100-year bonds recently, and they're trading for 50 or 60 cents on the dollar and heading down to zero. Less. Right. They're heading to zero. So America, they'll trade open 50-year bonds and they'll trade down 50%. They'll default and they'll come out of default and they'll do more bonds. And so there's no reverse of this. Just like Bitcoin blockchain, you can't reverse a transaction. Once you've gotten to this velocity of money printing and fraud in your banking system and in your political class, you can't go backwards, isn't it? There's no solution.
That's a really nice burp.
It wasn't a burp. I ran out of oxygen, and my oxygen and my lungs ended, and I spoke. It's like a dry heave. Of a word without air.
Just like I have a wig on that I could sniff.
Yeah.
In honor of our new president, Max is making old man noises.
Yeah, I'm like burping up breakfast and
lung.
I got part of my vital organs are coughing them up. And I thought I had kidney stones, but it turned out that it was just had something wrong with my alignment, which I had to realign myself. I had to give myself a chiropractic readjustment with using a beach ball filled with sand and a piece of string.
A bit burp. That's what they're calling it. Hey, how is the sound? I'm looking on this and it looks brighter than it looks like very vibrant compared to say what I see on our screen over there.
Really?
Yeah. I look very pale. Maybe it's like because this is kind of like a very cold orange color, so it's kind of making me.
You have orange eyeshadow as well.
I do have orange eyeshadow, but I also like my coloring kind of looks like Biden. I mean, today he looked okay, but the last press conference he did where he wandered off stage all confused and in that old man mouth, like, yeah, old people get like corpse like mouth.
Apparently, the Simpsons had another remarkable prediction.
What did they predict this time?
Well, apparently they did a show a while ago where the nation was so screwed up psychologically that they had to bring in Tom Hanks to like speak to the nation and heal them. And apparently during this inauguration day, they brought in Tom Hanks to kind of borrow his credibility, to kind of like graft his credibility onto this new administration. So it's a credibility graft, a credibility transplant from Tom Hanks to Biden. And the next thing they'll do is a fecal transplant from Tom Hanks to Joe Biden, right? To try to cure Bidenism. And this will be something hopefully on live pay-per-view TV. I'd like to see the live fecal transplant between Tom Hanks and Joe Biden, and then track that in real time and see how that would affect each other in their careers.
The first time I ever heard of Fart Club was from a British aristocrat.
Naturally.
Right. So the thing is, like, everybody loves sniffing their own hair and sniffing their own farts. But very few people actually like to smell other people's farts.
Right, unless they have a fetish, unless they're coprophagists.
Exactly. So there are things, actually, you could search on Telegram. There are clubs that are fart clubs. So there's a book about fart clubs. You can find it on Amazon. So there are people who like to smell other people's farts. So, I mean, this is an important story as we enter this age of, not only our president wearing diapers now, but the fact is that his whole administration, they are doing Patriot Act 2, but for domestic population, and they want to basically force a lot of people off of platforms. So the thing is, like, there are a lot of people who like to smell other people's farts, and they assume that you also like to smell their farts. So that's what I'm talking about. When in this decentralized peer-to-peer world, the platform itself is that should be neutral. If you want to start a fart club, start a fart club. You could do it on Telegram. But like with Orange Pill Podcast Telegram group, most people in there don't like to smell other people's farts.
No, right? No, definitely not.
They only like their own. So when you go in there and fart, well, everybody's like, get out of here. And then they come onto Twitter and they start tweeting at me and they say, I thought you were all for the First Amendment and free speech. It's like, yes, I'm for free speech, but I'm against farts. So if like smelling your fart, I don't need to. I don't need it. This is our living room. This is our safe space.
Yeah, no Karens, no coprophagists.
No coprophagists. I get it. I know there are people who like to smell each other's farts. Most people don't, though. So, but you have a place. I think you should be free to go meet in your own living room or on Telegram and discuss each other's unique smells.
Yeah, it's very George Carlin. He did a great routine on farts back in the 1970s.
Really? I didn't see that.
On YouTube. Yeah, he made the comment about, I think there's like 6 or 7 types of farts. And then he demonstrates all these types of farts. And then he mentioned that some people like to smell their own farts, you know, like, oh, geez. So, he was way ahead of his time on that fart front. And of course, Fartface 2000 is legendary Twitterer. But, these people that think they're being censored, it's only censorship if you have no alternative. If there's no place else to go, then that would be censorship. Because on our Telegram group, if we throw you out of the group, you have other groups to go to. So it's not censorship because you're free to go to any other group. If there were no other groups to go to and we were blocking your only way to communicate, okay, that would be censorship. But it's not the case. So it's not. So that's a bad argument, and so you can throw that argument down the drain.
Exactly. Like you are free to go form your own group. So I just think that there are a few. I thought of this when this guy like tweeted at me that he was forming a new orange pill Telegram group, but for people who got kicked out. And I
Yeah.
was like, fine, I don't care. Like, what is this? Some sort of like you're thinking I'm going to change my mind?
As
Oh,
long as you're stacking sats, nobody really cares.
I don't care if you form your own group. Like that's what I'm saying. I'm encouraging it. Go do it. Like if you're free to go form your own orange pill breakaway republic, like go ahead and do it. Right?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. And good luck to you. Have a good trip.
Have a good fart club. Right. Hit that like button. I see. 3 rules of fart club. What are the for
First of all, you should never talk about fart club. To talk about fart club, you have to make farting noises like you can't actually use verbs, or you can use armpit farts. You know, those are classic from elementary school. The first kid that figured out how to make armpit farts was usually king of the day for that day, right?
True.
It's like, oh my God, it sounds like a fart, but it's his armpit. Oh my God, what a genius. It's like, that's Bobby. He invented the armpit fart, you know, and then everyone's like, wait a minute, this is not that new or interesting. And life moved on.
I'm glad that Yellow Pop Cat guy is in the room, and he was recommending, like he was tweeting out, telling everybody to come watch the live stream. And then I realized that we started talking about farts soon after, and I was wondering if he was going to regret telling all his followers to watch us. But he seems to be delighted by this conversation and saying it's like Monty Python.
Yes, exactly. I am now going to perform the Dead Parrot sketch. Classic Monty Python. Hello. Hi. I'd like to return this parrot. No, we can't return any parrot. But this parrot is dead. You will use Plucky. Will be a stand-in for the dead parrot. Playing the role of the dead parrot is Plucky. Plucky is a bit of a challenge for you, but it is basically in the bird category, and you are ostensibly a bird, so it shouldn't be much of a dramatic stretch. No, Max. As a matter of fact, I substituted playing the dead parrot in the Monty Python get-together a couple of years ago. They still owe me, by the way, 20,000 pounds for that, those cheapskate bastard Monty Pythons. Well, of course, Plucky. You know, people play their bills these days. It's very difficult. Okay, so you're prepping for this now? Hello, sir. I'd like to return that. Wait, I think you're the dead parrot. No, you have to. Yes, there you go. All you have to do is play dead, Plucky. That's it. Oh, I can play dead quite easily. Very good. And here we go. I'd like to return this dead parrot. It's dead. Ow, 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 ow. Plucky, I think you're missing the point. You need to play dead. You can't be screaming. That doesn't make any sense. Oh, shut up, Max. I'm tired of you. I'm tired. All right, back to your coop for you, Plucky.
Woohoo!
Speaking of birds, we're sponsored by Swan. Swan the Swan, swimming along, stacking.
They're sponsoring this episode of Fart Club with Microdose Orange Pill.
When you swan, you're chilled. You know, the guy who wrote the Black Swan, you know, he is not that chilled these days. He seems agitated, Nassim Taleb, because he's not stacking sats, even though he wrote the Black Swan. He's not stacking sats, so he's not that chilled. He's all Twitter-pated.
He's all about the ink, the squid ink pasta. He really likes that.
He's a gourmand. And a flâneur. Oui, je suis flâneur. Je m'appelle Nassim Taleb. Je suis flâneur. Oui, j'aime bien la promenade. Je me promenade des rues de Paris. C'est magnifique. La semaine dernière, j'ai rencontré Christine Lagarde. Et Christine Lagarde, maintenant, c'est chef de ECB. Oui. Oui, je suis Christine Lagarde. Voilà mon portrait. Mon portrait, c'est plastique. Oui, et voilà mes dents. Mes dents sont plastiques aussi. Et mon cheveu, c'est cheveux de cheval. Oui, cheveux de cheval, mon cheveu. Oui, madame, monsieur, je suis Christine Lagarde. J'aime bien le imprimer, j'aime bien. Ooh la la.
Right. Speaking of central banks, I do want to point out that, China is about to really launch their CBDC. And just yesterday, the Europeans launched a new alternative to SWIFT. And the French are also well in advance in their own CBDC. So the point is that, you know, with this imperial decline, and it is obvious imperial decline, like because most people are so partisan and they feel really attached to, the shining city on the hill, the American empire, because that's what we're used to. That's what we've had for the last 50 years. So it's like you're familiar with it, and it's comforting, right? And it's sweet Uncle Sam to most people in the West, maybe not to the rest of the world. But the point is that, we did elect, an a troll, an internet troll for president for 4 years, who ruled by tweet, which was pretty interesting and bizarre for probably most of the edge of the empire, all the satellite states and Europe and stuff like that. But then we also now have a man with obvious cognitive decline. So I think people, like the rest of the world, is just like bracing for what we've pointed out of the Thucydides trap, that there's a shift going on. There's a change happening. There's something's coming, and they're bracing for it. Their people are already, nation states are already preparing for it. So once they prepare for it, their psychology has already changed, right? That's the important step. It's too late to do like a Paul Volcker and try to restore faith in the dollar or faith in U.S. institutions, because they've already prepared for the collapse. So as soon as you prepare for a collapse, like you're ready for it, like you've already moved on emotionally.
Brace.
Yeah.
Brace.
Yes.
Brace. Yeah, the dollar plane is crashing, so you just brace now. Those big rubber slides are going to pop out of the door. The air masks are going to pop down from above. Stewardesses are going to run around and give people emergency breathing and Heimlich maneuvers and whatnot.
Heimlich maneuver. You're like, ma'am, I'm trying to get off this plane. Here.
I'm trying to get off this plane. Let me give you the Heimlich maneuver. But madam, why are you doing that? I don't know. I was trained. Yeah, so it's all confusion. And but you're right. People are just bracing for impact. So you have to put your head between your knees. And when the air masks come down, put it on your face first before you put it on your child, because you want to make sure that you don't pass out. So put your tray tables up.
Yes.
And restore chairs to their normal position. Any kind of lasagna or beef burgundy that you might be in mid-bite, put that down and assume the brace position, because you're about to crash land. And fortunately, the video that you're watching, you will still be charged for that, and it'll appear on your next American Express bill.
Right. There are 800 people watching now. There are 315 likes. That means we're short by 500. What? Smash that like button. Smash that like it. Smash it. Smash it. Once it gets to smash it.
Smash it.
Smash it.
Moi, je smash le bouton. Le truc, je smash le truc. Oui. Truc. Donc, c'est mieux pour moi. Shock! I am shocked. I am complètement shocked.
Get your gringo book out.
It's a scandal.
And learn how to say.
But this is Spanish.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You say it in Spanish too. Like, we have way more people.
Is this like a dictionary, or is it just random and shit? What happened? Que pasa? I know that from just hanging around taco joints.
Que paso. Right. I'm going to go tweet out to Stacy Herbert's Twitter handle. Hey, did you sign up for our newsletter, orangepilldailyDose.com? Max, your French is pretty good. Smashing plonkers. Sachet. Que pasa, colegas?
Viva la vocabulero. Mm-hmm.
Right. I have to be silent for a moment, because I need, not me personally, not speaking.
Pourquoi?
Microdosing all the Bitcoin. So that's, of course, referring to just grayscale alone. Lord knows how many others are stacking
Piling in.
just as much as that. So I might actually smash buy shortly.
All right. Is anyone asking about my shirt?
Is anybody does anybody have a question about Max's shirt?
It says "Have fun staying poor," and this is a shirt that I took from the photo you took, and
I
then
took
I
that.
uploaded it at Zazzle and added this text, and they sent it to me in a couple of days.
Thank you. We have 450 likes there. So what I'm saying is like this is
What are you saying?
I think you
What's the
know
bottom line?
that this is the year that there's a real danger that the US dollar will be displaced as a reserve currency, as a settlements layer. It'll be a reserve currency, just like, say, many nations accumulate euros or trade in euros. Like all the trade between China and Russia, for example, is now almost exclusively done in euros versus the US dollar, which it was almost exclusively done in just a few years ago. So you'll always have those sort of, that sort of bilateral trade happening. But the fact is, as a settlements layer, the US will lose that power to sanction the way they have been, how they've become a bully in the last, really since Obama, where they started bullying people. So I think these CBDCs, they're, a lot of people ask, like, Jim Rickard sort will say, is this is a threat to Bitcoin, that somehow these CBDCs, which are just fiat, really, that they're going to be a threat to Bitcoin, but they're not going to be a threat to Bitcoin because they're just digital fiat. Bitcoin is digital gold, right? So there's no threat to Bitcoin from CBDCs. There is, however, a threat to the US dollar and the standard of living of the top 1%, because the top 1% are those who gain all of the wealth from having the exorbitant privilege. The bottom 99%, once you're rid of the US dollar reserve standard, the settlement layer, it will get better for the bottom 99%. I can guarantee that based on my observations of Europe.
Wow, that's a bold prediction, because you're saying that the existential crisis of dollar reserve currency of the world losing its status is good for Americans, because if you look what happened in Europe, when all these countries lose their reserve currency status, whether it's Portugal, France, or Spain, or the United Kingdom, what happens is it's better for the people. Because the big losers are the ruling class that no longer have the ability to lord it over the rest of the population. So here in America, we've got the money printers on Wall Street, and we've got the financialization that's happened across the economy. So when the US dollar loses its global reserve status, it'll prevent them from exerting their exorbitant privilege on the general population. The general population will have an uptick in their lifestyle.
Yes, because a fewfold. Like if you can print dollars, and we've said this on the Kai's report over the past few years. We started this years ago. This analogy, which is this, like, Saudi Arabia can just pump oil, and they call that the resource curse that they then get, because the elite, the 7,000 princes of Saudi Arabia, do not need the consent of the people, because the people give them nothing, right? But headache, because they have to feed the people every once in a while. They have plenty of oil to keep pumping and finance the lifestyles of the princes and the weaponry needed to keep them in power, and the alliance with the US, who also keeps them in power. So, in the United States, the elite don't, look at the cable news. What do? They laugh openly about all those addicts and the overdoses. 2020 looks like it's going to be a record year of overdose deaths of despair. They think it's hysterical. They literally laugh, as like saying, like, from Maddow will be like, I'm superior to those people, obviously, because they're committing suicide. Obviously they should, because their lives are horrible.
Right. Well, okay, it's a good phrase there. They don't need the consent of the people in Saudi Arabia because of the way the economy works with the oil and the princes. Okay, fine. So the people who control the money printing, similarly, when they need more wealth, they print more money for themselves. Just like the Saudis, when they need more wealth, they print more oil for themselves, or they pump more oil for themselves. So you're saying that when the US dollar loses its global reserve status, then that class of people will once again need the consent.
They will, because because just like any hard money, you're going to have to produce something, right? That China's going to want to send you whatever the new settlement layer is. You're going to need to earn income. You can't just like keep on exporting stuff, right? Exporting cash and debt. You're going to have to actually create something that they're to sell to them. So that means you're going to have to, instead of wasting the human resources, right now it's like it's wasted, right? You could just discard them and it doesn't matter. And it's an assembly line of death, of these deaths of despair. Nobody cares about them. And only every 4 years when they elect somebody who promises to trash it all. But of course, once you get into power, it's very seductive. You get to fly around in Air Force One. You get surrounded by yes men who are like essentially bribe you legally. It's called lobbying and stuff like that. So I think that it'll get better for the ordinary person because we'll have to start manufacturing and producing things, and I think that's better.
Right. It'll be a return to values, old American values, and values of thrift. Remember, they demonized thrift. They call it the paradox of thrift, or we have a savings glut, or we're Keynesians now, right? So the idea of saving money is vilified in the United States in this culture. The idea of going into debt is considered heroic. And so we have to obviously reverse that. So the idea of saving and having financial independence is more heroic. And remember, you can't have capitalism without capital. So that's why we have no capitalism in America, is because there is no capital. If you mark to market all of the debt and all of the assets and all of the accounting that's going on to account for all this stuff, America is insolvent by probably $50 trillion or so. So once this is all sorted out, the dollar collapses, America's going to have to go to the global reset table and admit the fact that they're going to have to accept gold at $30,000 to $40,000 an ounce to get this ball back in shape. And everybody with Bitcoin is going to be laughing because Bitcoin will be hundreds of thousands of dollars a coin, and we can have the pleasure of saying, "I told you so, I told you so, na 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 na."
Yeah, well, they're going to, we are the empire, and we're going to try to extend it as long as possible. So I think that's the sort of thing you're going to see this year as they try to fight off the inevitable. You see it in every single, if you've ever spent any time with an elderly parent or grandparent in the emergency room as they devote all resources to try to keep them alive for another few days. Like that's what you're going to see essentially with the dollar. Everything is going to be thrown at it to try to sustain its life for another week or two or a month or two. You're going to see that. I also want to say, there was an interesting study out this week that also spells the doom of the dollar, because all value derives from monkey consciousness. So I saw a study where monkeys can tell what humans value more, and they're more likely to steal that in exchange for getting food back from the human.
Mm-hmm.
So they know the humans have some food to give them. They'll steal what they know that the humans value most. So they understand value. That's a sense of them understanding what you value, and they value food. They don't value having a gold nugget. They want a banana, right? So they're going to take whatever you value most in order to get you to give it back.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the day monkeys figure out how to hire a lawyer. And then you're going to see some real changes, some real action.
Well, I thought that was a very interesting one to look at. Let me look over at the comments. We have 1,028 watching right now. Go smash that like button. We have 514 likes. Get it up higher, so that the YouTube, you got to, just like what I'm saying, the monkey, you have to train the monkey. The monkey trains you, essentially. The monkey sees that you, the human, value that gold nugget. They see you value that trezor. They see what you desire most and what you value most, and they take that knowledge and they use it to their advantage to get some more bananas.
Well, it's just like, when you have mind readers and they can read people.
Yeah.
and how they behave, and know subconsciously people are saying, giving off tons and tons of information all the time
Yep.
without them even being aware of it. So monkeys, are able to pick up on that stuff just by looking at your body language. You're more protective of, let's say, your wallet. It's on the table, so you put it in a place, and to a degree where monkeys observing this will figure out that, well, that appears to be like Joey when he's protecting his banana. I see that big monkey over there sitting at the croissant all-you-can-eat buffet is protecting that thing over there, so I'm going to grab that.
Right. But like I said, like, so the monkey knows you. The monkey, because we're all on one giant matrix, one algorithm. They have figured out your vulnerability, just like we have figured out in the past. We figured out the vulnerability of JP Morgan when they had a massive short position on silver. They were vulnerable to a campaign whereby if you bought 1 ounce of silver, which was only $14 at the time, that would remove 1 ounce of physical off the market, leaving them uniquely vulnerable to a short squeeze because they also, the governments, the treasuries, do not own any silver like they own gold. So they couldn't help their buddies out. Here, we're training the algorithm of YouTube. The algorithm of YouTube is vulnerable to the fact that the more likes, the more they recommend it to the rest of their community, and the more engagement, actually. So like when people come around with a lot of hate, that also actually, the algorithm of YouTube can't read that. All they know is that people are writing to you
Right,
and
right.
engaging with you. So that actually elevates you.
We're hacking the algorithm.
Haters actually help you out on YouTube uniquely because it's showing engagement.
It's
So
like jujitsu. You take that negative force and you turn it into a blow in the opposite direction.
I mean, we're seeing that the blow, speaking of that blowback across social media, the fact is on Facebook and Twitter as well, and social media, they measure engagement, and hate is engagement. They can't tell the difference between, like, oh my God, I love you so much, or oh my God, I hate you so much and I want to destroy you. So
Right.
these are the same things, like, to them. So the more you're hated, and you see, I mean, Peter Schiff is a great example of this. Peter Schiff is rewarded greatly by the Bitcoin community by engaging with him constantly. All he has to
Yeah.
do is come in and fart. I have to say, the Bitcoin community seems to love the smell of Peter Schiff's farts because they respond to it every time.
Then more so than Nouriel Rabini.
They start going,
Yeah, they
oh,
can't get
Peter
enough.
Schiff, keep saying that, keep farting that talk.
Well, he was voted like second most influential Bitcoiner a
Exactly.
couple of weeks ago.
That he wasn't voted. The algorithm said he was the second most
Right,
influential,
right, right.
and that is important. That's what I'm saying. Is these algorithms, even hate is easier. Max, you used to always say that. You used to tell me that when you were a broker on Wall Street, that hate was a great way to get people to buy something.
Yeah, yeah,
Buy a stock.
absolutely. You have to always create a story with a hero and a villain, and if you buy this stock, you're helping to defeat the villain. So that's like one of the sales pitches, structure of a sales pitch. Get somebody emotionally involved and create the dynamic. And there's a villain, and if you buy the stock, you're going to hurt the villain.
Yes.
And so,
Yes.
that's one sales technique that one might use to close a sale.
Yeah, I mean, you see that all the time. You look at, like, with that Goya beans. I don't know what the hell happened, but because whoever the guy who owns Goya beans, I think he's Latin American, American Latino, and he gave some money to Trump. And I think all these left wing people said, let's boycott them. And then they caused the biggest sales increase in their history because the opposite side, the people who hate the Democrats, like, so they're all like playing hate off
I'll
each
tell
other.
you why.
Go ahead, tell us why, because this is your show as well.
Yeah. The Goya beans back in the 70s, they had a lot of TV ads.
Yeah.
And it was like the tagline was Goya, I'm glad I know you.
Yeah.
But the woman saying it was this hot Latino woman, this MILF, hot Latino MILF, who was saying, Goya, it's great to know you. So all these baby boomers, when they hear the word Goya, they're like, oh, that reminds me of that hot Latino chick from the 70s. I'm going to go buy some beans right now.
I never saw that ad.
Yeah.
I don't know that ad.
Yeah, it may have been a little before your time or after your time. But nevertheless, that's my theory about it. It's a psychosexual trigger of beans with this Latina woman, and it triggered a bunch of baby boomers to go out immediately and load up the shopping cart with as many Goya beans as they possibly could.
Of course, those were the days. I mean, Max is talking about like he was like 7 or 8 years old,
Yeah,
but
I was like only 8 years old, but it still made quite an impression on me.
that's what I was about to say is that advertising back then, it was not yet illegal to have subliminal advertising. So Lord knows what they had in the ad. It could have been naked ladies all over the place in the beans, like on in the images that your subconscious would see. So those used to be legal, and
Oh yeah.
we as children were subjected to that. Then they started to make it illegal in the 70s and into the early
Yeah,
80s.
the movie theaters would play in the advertisements, images of people dying of thirst, right? And with an ad for Coca-Cola, that type of thing. So subliminal advertising was made illegal, but it's become more sophisticated now, and it's much more pernicious. It's pernicious.
I hadn't even thought like we were talking about Goya beans and we had been talking about Fart Club earlier.
Yeah,
So like of
it
course
all comes together.
it all comes
It all
together.
wraps into one beautiful biological, psychological, physical ecosystem of content that revolves around Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the center, is kind of like the black hole at the center of the universe, or you could call it, the anus of the universe in a lot of ways. Because as I've said, it's interesting that the fetus develops around the anus, right?
Yeah.
Because in order to develop the fetus, you need a vent to get rid of the waste, because of all the waste that's created through the fetal development, right? All that's happening, and there's a lot of waste. So, but the first thing that develops in the fetus is the port in which to eject the biological waste that the fetus is generating through its development. And so this is the same in the universe, right? The universe is constructed around a giant anus called a black hole.
Mm.
And the waste of our subconscious thoughts that are thinking about shitcoins, for example, it ends up going into that black hole, which is like a furnace of destruction. And eventually it's all gone, and only Bitcoin survives. Everything's going to get burned off except Bitcoin, including humans, by the way. There won't be any humans left, but Bitcoin will still be hashing every 10 minutes.
Oh, that's interesting because black holes, of course, is the only place in the universe that we know of where time like is manipulated as well. So that's the problem with shitcoins and anuses. It's like it's a time sink, right? Like
Yeah.
it takes your time. It steals your time, and you're never going to get back.
Right. Exactly right. And we mentioned fecal transplants earlier. And this again, if you have, I think it was Joe Biden was going to get a fecal plant with, was it George Carlin? I forget who he said. Somebody.
You said somebody else. I don't know who
Some,
is going to give him a
yeah,
fecal
some fecal
transplant.
implant with George Carlin and Joe Biden, and live on pay-per-view. That would be cool.
You know what that fecal transplant is like that because of I guess all that processed food and stuff that most Americans eat, like it causes all this like gut bacteria that leads to all this obesity. Um, so what they do, one of the things they do is they take a thin person like myself and they transplant fecal matter from the thin person to the fat person
Hmm.
to help them lose weight because it alters their
Yeah.
gut bacteria.
Right.
So
Right. You need whole new bacterial set to come in there
yeah,
and restore order
to
to
restore
the
order.
gut.
I saw, I sent you a story about they found the very first dinosaur anus. We have dinosaurs here,
I
right?
saw that story. Yeah.
Yeah, the dinosaurs are coming into the White House, right? Like we have a new dinosaur in the White House, and they're going to try to maintain, the Bitcoin meteor has struck, and they're going to try to pretend that, that this Bitcoin black hole doesn't exist,
Yeah.
that is sucking in their fiat system. So, but that remains that there was a story that I just sent Max this morning where apparently they found their very first dinosaur butthole.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was in good condition. They made a lot of conclusions. So first time discoveries about dinosaur buttholes, about their multi-purpose. They can do many things, right? They can extrude waste. They also can play piano.
No, they pooped, they peed, and they reproduced. So it
Right.
was the one hole for all things.
Right. The one hole to rule them all. And so it's a multi-purpose anus. And the dinosaurs were
Jesus.
doing great until the big meteor came and wiped them all out. Otherwise we'd still be ruled by dinosaurs. And at that time, the antecedents of humans, what became humans ultimately millions of years later, were the mammals, because there were mammals during the age of dinosaurs, but they were represented by rat-like creatures. So the rats of the dinosaur age, the mammals, eventually became human beings. The dinosaurs were wiped out.
Right. And so let me see. Super poop. Somebody saying, ha ha ha, the one hole to rule it all. Get
Super
the
hole.
Valley of the Dinosaurs. Yo. So yeah, we are up to 1,100 views, 650 likes, 652. Get it up, get it up, get it up.
Smash
Hey,
that
oh,
like.
I know
Bum,
people like to
bum.
smash that by. Look, I've got my leopard skin. Smash that like. Smash that like. Smash it, smash it.
Whoa, that's pretty wild.
Smash it, smash it.
Oh my
Smash,
God.
smash, smash. I'm gonna just do this until it gets to 1,000 likes. And if you don't like my orange hair flying around,
All right.
oh, I feel like Joe Biden because I feel dizzy
Right.
and I feel like I have a lot of hair in my nose and my
Then
mouth.
that you're the president.
Woohoo! Woohoo! Oh my God! Wow, I feel really
It'd
dizzy.
be like one of those whirling dervishes in the Sufism, which is a sect of Islam, I believe. They
Oh
like
yeah.
to whirl their heads around with those hats on, and they get into a trance-like state of some kind of ecstasy. You know.
No, there's a really cool. Go look it up on YouTube. I love it so much. I think it's an Ethiopian dance. These Ethiopian women, they whirl their head around really fast, and
Yeah.
there's like all these competitions to see who could whirl their head around fastest.
Yeah.
And it's pretty amazing. Like I don't know how they could stand up. Like I feel like I'm gonna pass out if I weren't sitting in this chair
Yeah. Yeah.
right now. I'm like, like remember last episode I looked into the disco ball and I was blind. Now I feel almost blind as well from my like the I'm not like 20 anymore, and so like my head is still whirling and the brain cells are still like traveling around in a circle inside my head.
Yeah, it's cheaper than buying acid, dropping acid, isn't it? You know, I mean, the impact will be gone pretty soon.
Yeah, it's true, it does. I feel kind of stoned.
Right. Well,
That's a good
that's
point.
a primitive version of. That's why the primitives would do something like that, is to get them into a state of, altered states, an altered state of consciousness.
We're
So
just
they would
learning
like spin
something
their
new.
head around, or they eat magic mushrooms, or whatever they could find. You know, go to the spot in the jungle where it's beautiful. I saw this Richard Attenborough special. What's so funny?
I'm just I'm just laughing at somebody leaving a live comment that they just tuned in and they're like, "What the hell is going on here?"
This is Bitcoin. This is orange pill. This is orange pill. This is what happens when you move from the red pill to the orange pill and you're living the Bitcoin life. This is the lifestyle of Bitcoin. This is when you don't really give a fuck anymore. This is what it's all about.
This is like spaghettification. Remember, because the black hole of Bitcoin sucking in all around it. You have to remember that spaghettification happens as well as you go over the event horizon. Everything
Right.
gets pulled. So that's why, like that whole comment about Biden's long, skinny arms around the Jefferson Memorial or the Washington Memorial, whatever the fuck that thing is.
Yeah.
Like this is spaghettification happening.
I didn't see the long spindly arms around the Washington Memorial Man.
Oh my God.
He's trying to kiss its hair?
No,
Even though it's
no,
bald?
it's like it's like North Korean television. Like CNN was talking about there was some sort of event last night pre inauguration, and they said the lights around the memorial was like it was almost, he said, almost crying. This was a TV presenter. It was almost like Joe Biden's arms surrounding the people of America and comforting them. And everybody's making fun of it as being like that North Korean TV presenter who's so famous.
Yeah. Totally over the top. You know, the purple prose that comes out of the mouths of these Harvard-trained journalists is remarkable when they're trying to push this type of idiotification of.
Never heard purple prose. What's that mean?
It's like describing things in such a luscious, over the top, like his arms embraced it in a majestic way that the hearts of thousands were beating in unison, and a nation became one with the tender embrace of a man whose journey we all relate to in our personal histories that reflect the greatness of a country that is born in freedom and a land that is emblematic of strength. And as we wait with bated breath for the Buccaneers Green Bay Packers game this Sunday, where heroic Tom Brady will seek entrance to yet another Super Bowl matchup, we can only hope that this administration will will let's see how would the New York Times write this, the Washington Post or the CNN.
This new administration will embrace victory with noble dignity, worthy of a great empire.
Yeah, they have to really play the emotional heartstrings, and really they have to come up with some prose here.
That
Like,
we're the exceptional nation.
oh yeah, the exceptional nature is like within the breast of every American beats the heart of exceptionalism, born on the heroic heroes of our history. And then you got to bring in the war. We won World War I, World War II. Wave the flag a little bit. So this is it is kind of North Korean-esque, except done through Hollywood. So it's like if North Korea suddenly showed up in Hollywood, you'd end up with Joe Biden. Hollywood, da 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 da, Hollywood, da 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 da. Here's a guy who poops his pants. He runs the show. We love his pants. Da da da, Hollywood.
That was the funniest thing. Okay, that continues with our fart club theme.
Yeah,
and that is that if you go to Joe Biden's YouTube channel, you'll see on his last press conference prior to taking office, he a lot of people played the little tiny clip at the end where he's kind of like wandering off stage.
yeah.
But that's the kind of in the whole Jerry Nadler thing. Remember Jerry Nadler pooped his pants up on at a press conference? Well, here it's like Joe Biden clearly has constipation, but like he does that face of like a baby where they're trying to like poop their diapers and they're like
Right, right.
He's doing that face of like, it looks like that. Like it's always like, I don't know what he's doing, but it reminds me of a baby. Like I have a theory that like old people always end up looking like babies.
They do.
There's it's a circle of life, right? Before you head into the great black hole in the sky.
Yeah. It's all the circle.
You come out of the black hole and you enter it again.
Yeah, you come out crying and looking like a baby, and then you go out crying and looking like a baby.
Except for, as everybody knows, after watching the Daniela Camboni interview, that you came out butt first.
Yeah, I was a breech baby. Yeah,
you were a breech.
I came out butt first. Yeah, I was always that way.
You were always that way.
I had that kiss my ass attitude, even as a baby coming out of the womb.
Right.
And like, yo, doc, I was comfortable, and now you've ripped me out of here. Why have you summoned me into this world? I was perfectly happy.
Kiss my ass,
in my
doctor.
Prenatal existence, I had everything I needed. Everything was cool. Now I'm here. It's a lot of lights. There's a lot of noise. Why are you bothering me?
Why?
Why have you summoned me?
Why?
Who's in charge here? Because this isn't acceptable. And get my lawyer on the phone.
Right. I think it was that Sugar Ray. Leonard or Robinson?
Sugar Ray was boxing that night. So when I was born, so I think my dad was really wanted to watch the fight. So, and my mom was giving birth.
Yeah,
so
she was having labor pains, but you had to wait until the fight was over.
Yeah,
And it
the
went
fight
long.
was
It went into like 10 rounds and
yeah. So there was like who's gonna make it first, Sugar Ray or Max? Who's gonna get out of this one? Yeah.
So I think you came right after midnight because you would have been born. You should have been born the day earlier.
Yeah. By the way, my birthday's coming up on the 23rd of January.
If you want to send any
I'll be
presents,
61 years old. That's so exciting.
we got another one of these. Not this exact, but from this artist, cypherpunknow.com. You go
Yeah.
there, we got the meteor one, just like the Bitcoin meteor against white background.
Oh yeah.
And the Bitcoin white paper. Some of the
Right. So
text.
Joe Biden started politics when I was 10
Yeah.
or 11, right? And he's still in it. He's still doing it.
He's still doing it, and it's pretty amazing. So, also speaking of like Bitcoin and this, the fiat dinosaur exiting the stage,
Yeah.
which makes perfect sense to have the oldest president in history, a literal dinosaur, who first came to power with the birth of this dinosaur fiat. So I read so when Obama took office, the market cap of the S&P 500 versus the GDP of America was 65%. When Trump took office, it was 120%. And now Biden has it at, I think it's 190%. So that is always the number that Warren Buffett always used. Once he said it got to 100%, once the stock market cap of the S&P 500 was 100% of GDP,
Yeah.
that was a danger zone. It was starting to get overvalued. So it's now almost 200% of GDP.
Well, it shows that the dollar is in trouble.
That's hyperinflation.
Yeah, it's hyperinflation. The dollar is in a hyperinflationary collapse against stocks and against Bitcoin and against bonds, because bonds actually have negative yields. That shows that how messed up the dollar is. That's because people are willing to lock in a guaranteed loss versus holding dollars for I think 2021 is the year they pull the pin, and this dollar thing blows up, and that's how you get to Bitcoin $220,000 a coin, because it's massive adoption plus dollar collapse. So gold, as I've said, is also going to go up, but nowhere near as much as Bitcoin. And as far as dollar collapsing, I think people need to protect themselves against that, because it means the purchasing power of your money goes down sharply. And for last year, for example, your purchasing power dropped over 30% in America. So if you think, unless your assets were up 30% last year, you're losing. Okay, so in 2021, that could get 50, 60, 70% drop. You're going to be losing. So how do you protect yourself? There's only really two choices. Maybe, there's Bitcoin, and then there's gold, which will work to some degree. The stock market is probably going to continue to benefit from this, just like the best performing stock markets in the world are Iran and Zimbabwe.
Right. So, I mean, how do you protect yourself? You get Bitcoin. Gold might be revalued with a global currency revaluation. But, we mentioned Warren Buffett at the top of this segment right here, where we're talking about the S&P 500 versus US GDP, and it's now close to 200%. And, look at what he did this year as the money printer started to go brr, right? He can't buy Bitcoin. He obviously couldn't even buy gold, because he bought gold for a bit, and then it was way too much of headline news. So he reversed that. They pulled out at least 50% of that position. So what did he do? Like, the only thing that Warren Buffett could do, because because of his role in the US financial system, he can't really do things like buy Bitcoin or gold. So he went to Japan, right? He bought these the top 5 Japanese industrials, because how he's playing this out in his mind of what happens in a post US dollar situation, right? Whoever has some industrial capacity, manufacturing capacity, and it's kind of open to control, right? So Germany runs Europe, okay? And Germany has massive manufacturing. Germany, however, doesn't have many publicly listed companies. Warren Buffett spent a decade there. We were covering that back in like 2009 or 10 on Kaiser Report. He went there, and he said openly, I have a huge balance sheet. I have billions of dollars I could spend, and I'm trying to buy those Mittelstand companies, all those family-owned companies for hundreds of years that just don't list publicly on the stock exchange. So he couldn't take them over via the stock market. He went to those families, tried to plead with them to sell the companies, but they wouldn't. So he went to Japan. So you're going to have to, whoever has the gold and whoever can manufacture is going to win. And it has to be pretty high tech and high grade. So Japan, Germany, China, right? Those are the three big manufacturers of high tech stuff at the moment.
Yeah, and Japan's market was at a 20, 30-year low.
True, yes.
Right, so it did, in 1989, it topped out at 40,000 on the Nikkei. I remember that very well. 1989, it dropped down to 8,000. And then it's been bouncing around 8,000, 20,000 for a while. It kind of broke out of a multi-year basing pattern, and now it looks headed back to all-time highs. But that would be now 30 years after it hit the last all-time high, when the value of the palace in Tokyo, that one piece of property, was valued more than the island of Manhattan. Some astronomical concentrations of at that time. And then the whole thing blew apart. Now, I remember what blew it apart was that up until that time, they didn't really have listed futures contracts on these equities in Japan. And so there's tremendous cross ownership. So all the top companies would own each other and sit on each other's board. So you didn't have any sellers really, because they were all basically colluding. So when they introduced financial futures in Japan at that time, in the late 80s, it became easy for one of them to break ranks and to sell a futures contract. And that really pulled the pin on the whole collusion that was going on. And then once one started, the whole thing collapsed. So it's similar with these central banks. The central banks around the world collude to keep this fiat money system going. What will break it apart is, and gold, the gold vigilantes ultimately failed because gold became completely financialized and is totally in control. The price discovery is completely in control of the global banking system. There's no price discovery in gold. So the thing that'll break apart this central bank collusion is Bitcoin, because the upside for Bitcoin, even at the current price, is still 20, 30, 40x. And one of these big central banks is going to break from the pack, like we saw in Japan in 1989. And they're going to say, you know what? I make a lot of money in this collusion game for the last 30 years, but if I'm first in on Bitcoin and before you guys, I'm going to dump 20x, 30x my money. And that's what's going to happen. And then you'll see the whole fiat money blow apart. That's the game theory working in reverse, because right now game theory and the central banks work together the same way game theory works in Bitcoin. But Bitcoin is kind of like the iron game theory. There's no human organization or force that is in this galaxy can break the iron game theory of Bitcoin. But in the central bank world, yes, it is subject to human attack vectors. And so I think, and we're in the era of de-dollarization and deglobalization. So we're just waiting for that first bank to break ranks. I don't know which bank will do it first. Obviously, China is very antagonistic right now with the U.S. That would be one area. And then
somebody has to move fast.
The ECB is extremely impaired, and they have a lot of trouble at the ECB right now. So they need like a way to save themselves. They could say, you know what, if we don't do something fast, we're going to go completely bankrupt here in the EU. They could break ranks, but one of these big central banks is going to quit the table and just go totally into Bitcoin, and that will bust that collusion up. And that's when the whole thing just absolutely rips to shreds. Bitcoin's, just skyrockets to unimaginable heights. Michael Saylor is now basically running the world, and we'll be still doing this podcast.
Right. Well, that's the thing that deglobalization always leads to is all these central banks have worked together, as Nomi Prinz in collusion shows, like since the 70s they've worked together, especially since the 80s and the Plaza Accord and all of that stuff. But once deglobalization happens, it's every nation for themselves. So you'll see them break apart, and that's when we'll have to have a new Bretton Woods, as the IMF is already signaling that it's going to happen. But once we get to 1,000 likes, Then we will wrap the show up. We're at about 800 likes at the moment. So, I think we have close to 1,200 people online. So just 200 more likes, and then we're going to wrap the show. In the meantime, maybe I should just smash by some Bitcoin, because I think, what's the price now? I think
Here's Swan.
here's let me try to buy it on this my iPhone instead. Right?
Yeah, smash buy on your iPhone at Swan. Lowest fees in the industry. Instant buy, instant smash, immediately get the price right now. Plus, you can get it off their platform into your wallet, not your keys, not your Bitcoin. Remember, that'll happen, within a few days. Unlike Cash App, boy, I realized today, Cash App, they have limits on how much you can remove from the app, which is limited to like 5,000 a week or something.
Yeah, 2,000 a day.
2,000 a day, 5,000 a week. Because I had been, Cash Apping, built up a bunch there. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to move it to my Casa wallet. They're like, oh, no, it's only like 5,000 a week, dude. So I'm going to be like, oh, man, this is a pain. I have to do this now every week for the next 2 years. Just sounds like a pain in the ass. So I wouldn't bother with that one. I think Jack may have fucked that one up. So go to Swan. Really is superior to both Coinbase and Cash App. It is the best. It's the on-ramp to Bitcoin. They are the sponsor of this show. Thank you, people at Swan. They have brilliant content. They have these videos where they get two industry heavyweights to battle it out. Remember in high school we used to have Battle of the Bands. That was always a fun night in ninth grade. You go down to the auditorium and there'd be two local bands battling it out, playing cover tunes of Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
Here it is at Swan 40 years later. They've got two heavyweights talking about Bitcoin, battling it out for intellectual supremacy. And you are the beneficiary because your knowledge goes up dramatically. And you're like, I feel so good. I'm going to smash buy more Bitcoin.
All right. I got it. $35,124 was the price I got on my Bitcoin. Smash those sats.
So you just bought it right away. Instant buy, right?
I instant bought. That's what it's called. Instant buy. They need to change it to smash buy. We have 1,230 watching us now. Go hit that like button, because as soon as we hit 1,000, we're going to call it a wrap. We're going to call this.
Just tell the people about what's happening on with the new thing that's dropping Saturday, I think.
So on Monday, January 25th, there is a new newsletter called Daily Dose. And the important thing about this is, in an age where we don't know what the dinosaurs of the Biden administration are going to do, but they're already talking about a Patriot Act 2.0. They're looking at deplatforming a lot of people. We might be one of them. Who knows? Because that's the thing about arbitrary despotism, right? We don't know the arbitrary nature of who they decide to deplatform. If Rachel Maddow starts a campaign on her show that she's against Bitcoin and against Orange Pill podcasts and she wants us taken off air, well, maybe the Biden administration might listen to it and take us off air. We don't know. Or might take us off Twitter, might take us off YouTube or whatever. But, we have our own website and RSS feed. And so you go there, you register, you get the daily dose of us. You can stay in touch. You can stay abreast of wherever we're moving to in a case of deplatforming. But even if we don't get deplatformed, it's still quite useful for you, because it has it's not like a tedious, boring, long sort of newsletter where it's like filled with all sorts of technical analysis and boring analysis. It's like Max and Stacy, unique sort of microdosing sort of quality of fun and delivering joy through Orange Pill. So this is the Orange Pill Daily Dose. Go to orangepilldailydose.com, put in your email address, and you'll receive an email soon before the 25th confirming that you're subscribing to this newsletter. But you'll get the first dose on Monday the 25th.
Yeah, I mean, does anybody do origami anymore? We live in this electronic age of emails. And I doubt anyone does origami like they used to. When I was growing up, everyone was doing origami. Make little paper swans or paper ducks or paper houses. You fold it up into these cute little things. And, who can forget the importance origami played in that classic dystopian futuristic film starring Harrison Ford called
Blade Runner.
Blade Runner. Remember, the cop was chasing him. He made all those little origami swans or whatever. You keep them. I mean, it was a plot device, right? Now today, people would look at that and say, "What is that? What's origami? I don't get it. Is that a game? Is that a platform? Where am I?" I just think we've lost so much in this digitalization. But we gained Bitcoin.
We could talk. You sound like Joe Biden. You're like he's like talking like
hi.
I just think we lost.
When I talk to Corn Pop,
I'm
been nominating Corn Pop right here in my cabinet to be the Minister of Outdoor Bathing. Here he is, Corn Pop. Come on stage, Corn Pop.
Children love my blonde hair on my legs. They love
my blonde hair with Corn Pop.
Caress my little hairs on my leg.
Oh, yeah, that's great. Really nice.
I just like there's a delay on the YouTube versus like where we look, and I was doing that Joe Biden face, and I looked exactly like my great grandmother. I was surprised.
Oh, right. She had red hair or orange hair?
She did not have orange hair. Well, I only ever knew her as gray hair, but
right.
I'm not sure what color her real hair was during her youthful era, but it seems like it was kind of dark. So 901 likes. Come on, people. 100 more likes now. Smash that like. Otherwise, I'm going to keep on dancing. I'm going to get high again. Watch. I'm going to get high.
Wow. Let me see what color underwear I have on today. Oh, it's magenta with polka dots.
No.
Yeah, magenta with black polka dots.
No.
Yeah.
Right.
That.
What? Oh, we have 932 likes. See, I think people I feel totally stoned now.
Yeah.
Whirl your head around.
Oh, I've been doing it the whole show. I'm high as fuck right now. I just can't even see anything. I'm blind. I'm blinded by my own whirling dervishness.
I wonder if I roll my eyes around.
Yeah.
If that would do the same thing. I'm going to try it right now. If I pass out, give me some smelling salts.
Oh, I will. I'm standing by right now with the smelling salts.
Here it goes.
Okay, let's see if you pass out. Look at that. You look like you're tottering. It
does work. It makes you a little bit stoned.
Really?
Yeah.
Was smoking banana peels ever effective as a hallucinogenic? I remember that it was kind of an urban legend from when
I never once heard of it.
Well, it's not the banana peels. It's like when you peel the banana, they have those threads inside the skin, that between the skin and the flesh of the banana. Apparently, you dry these out and you can smoke them, and it's a substitute for something hallucinogenic. I'm not sure if that was ever the case.
Right. Well, we're going to wrap this up, and I want to say that it was fun getting high with you, getting microdosing with you, microdosing all the Bitcoin. I think we smash bought some. Went to swanbitcoin.com, smash bought our sats. I feel really good about it. I feel orange pilled. I feel like I got my good dose this morning or this afternoon. Maybe tonight I'll do some more smash buying if the price goes lower and I get to stack more sats for the same sort of fiat conversion. We love lower prices. Again, like that's how Warren Buffett thinks. That's where he's going for low prices. He's not buying the overpriced S&P 500, is he? Because that's his metric. He says, at 100%, it's overvalued. Well, it's overvalued. So where does he go? He goes to Japan. He could have gone to Bitcoin, but we're going to Bitcoin because he's too old for, he has a high time preference because he's got a few years left, right? Like,
right.
He can't say, oh, I'm going to hold on to this Bitcoin for the next 30 years because he won't be here in 30 years.
You're not even going to read the white paper. He might not make it through.
He might not make it through.
Yeah.
But we're going to, exit again, go register for orangepilldailydose.com. And smash the like button, share it, do all that stuff because, I think it's a good thing to do. It's a way to give back for me and Max, like committing this like head whirling for you. We told you about Fart Club. Where else? And what other Bitcoin podcast tells you about fart clubs, right?
No, it's unique in the Bitcoin podcasting space for sure. I think we've cornered the Fart Club kind of topic, and that's what we're known for. And people come here and they find out all the latest late breaking news on this.
I have to say, Peter McCormick is suspiciously quiet about fart clubs. I think he might belong to one that would suggest he's guilty. that he's afraid
Well, that's the first rule of Fart Club is not to talk about Fart Club. So that might be why we don't hear about it from him. Could be, maybe. I don't know.
Right. So
I don't know.
I'm gonna use my fancy schmancy stream deck,
I don't know.
and we're only 3 away from 1,000 likes. I did say we would exit as soon as we hit
1,000.
1,000.
Likes.
It's 998 now.
Uh-oh.
And 1,000. Bye.
Da, da, da.
Bye.
That's all, folks.
Let's get stoned.
Thank you. We're here every Wednesday. Come on down. How about a nice round of applause? For Max and Stacy coming down to you may have seen him on Leno or Johnny Carson. Oh, and how about a nice round of applause? Max and Stacy here every Wednesday night at Plucky's Chuck, Plucky's Yuck Yuck Club Yuck Yuck with Plucky. That's right.